Did anybody actually think California was going to listen and maybe do the right thing once the DOT came out and gave them an ultimatum? They have 30 days to get into compliance, or their licenses will no longer be valid outside of their state, and they will, lose all federal funding for roads and highways. Yeah, if you thought California was going to be like, yeah, we're going to do whatever they say, you're like me. So now it creates a massive issue. I want to know how this is going to get resolved. We're going to talk about that and more right after this. So you live in California, you have a driver's license, you have a car. News just came out yesterday from DOT Secretary Sean Duffy, and it was like a 30-minute thing um, that he did, and I'm not going to include that whole thing, but I'll put a quick clip here from what he said, so you can get an idea of what was said here. Probably 3 or 4 minutes, and it's relevant. The reason why it's relevant is residents in California may not be able to leave their state with their driver's license in 30 days. Like, not a joke. And it's not just commercial licenses. If they decertify the state of California, those licenses aren't good. If you have a real ID and it has that little logo in the corner, which allows you to fly, it would not be valid. You would be stuck in the state of California unless somebody else from one of the other 49 states is driving a vehicle for you. Yeah. Let me roll this clip with Duffy.
My message, it's very simple. Get into compliance now, or we'll pull funding and we'll force you into compliance. Nowhere in the country have we found a more egregious licensing situation than in the state of California. That's why the second action we're announcing today, it's an additional enforcement action against California. So for 2 weeks, FMCSA investigators were on site in California actually looking at their records. So we took a random sample. Investigators found that more than 1 in 4 non-domiciled CDLs were issued in direct violation of federal safety standards. So let's just put that another way. Over 25% of these licenses, they were issued illegally. So let me give you some examples. So on this slide, this is driver PND from Brazil. So California gave him a CDL with endorsements to drive a passenger bus and a school bus that was valid for months after his legal presence in the US had expired. They put an authorized driver in a position to transport our kids on a school bus well beyond their date of work authorization. Number 2, this is driver JHB, a citizen of Mexico who is ineligible for a non-domiciled CDL. Mexican and Canadian drivers, or citizens, I should say, are not eligible for a US CDL. California gave him one anyway, with a doubles and triples endorsement that expires more than 3 years after his work authorization ends. And so to be clear, we have a special relationship with Canada and Mexico, where if you're a citizen of one of those countries, you have to get a CDL in Mexico or in Canada. You can't come to the US and get a US CDL. So this license completely violates the rules, number 1, and number 2, expires after the work authorization. So 2 violations with this license. The third example, this is driver MOC, who is also ineligible as a Mexico citizen. California issued that license that expires more than 4 years after his work authorization ends. Again, another example where the clear rules say this driver should not have a license. And example number 4, this is driver ASV from Honduras. The DMV had no evidence it even bothered to validate his lawful presence before issuing a commercial license with tanker and double triples endorsements. So again, they don't even validate that he has a work authorization and should be issued a license in the United States, and California issued that license anyway. The work document that they had on file had been expired for 4 years, and they issued the license anyway. They didn't know if he was here illegally or not. They didn't validate it. They didn't verify it. It's shocking, and this is an unacceptable failure. It shows a reckless disregard for safety in California, and they should be ashamed of themselves. So California has 30 days to fix this. And by the way, we all know this, but if you get a CDL in California, you don't stay in California. You can drive nationwide. And so those California licenses are driven on roads in every single state in this country. And again, putting American families, American drivers at risk because of the bad action in California. If California doesn't comply, we're going to withhold federal highway funds. It's going to start at $160 million in the first year. We're going to double that in year 2. I want to close with this. This is not the ending. This is just the beginning. Our team identified non-domiciled CDLs that were issued improperly in Colorado, Pennsylvania, South Dakota, Texas, and in Washington. Those states should know that enforcement actions against them are forthcoming. And we expect the list of states to grow as our nationwide audit continues. So to every other state, consider this your notice. Fix your system, fix your rules, comply with the law. Every governor must immediately begin a top to bottom audit of every non-domiciled issued CDL in your state. And if you find any license that was not issued properly, revoke it, get rid of it. Keep your streets safe, all of our streets safe. Bring your programs into compliance. You do not want the blood of more traffic deaths on your hands, governors. You do not want that. Now, I want to go through these details further. And again, Jesse Elison is our chief counsel at FMCSA, and he'll walk through those details right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Secretary Duffy has outlined, FMCSA has recently become aware of a critical safety failure. Really, it's a crisis on 2 fronts. The eligibility requirements for obtaining a non-domiciled commercial learner permit and commercial driver's license, or CLP and CDLs, are not narrowly tailored to provide sufficient safety. The second front is the existing regulatory framework is unworkable in practice due to the systematic deficiencies in state implementation. So FMCSA, in good faith, cannot permit this demonstrably failed non-domiciled credentialing system to continue in its current framework. Therefore, we find good cause to issue this IFR, this interim final rule, as Secretary Duffy has mentioned, is effective immediately. And this finding is based on the determination that a regular notice and public procedure are both contrary to the public interest and just not practical, because it would delay the adoption and the immediate implementation of the new strict standards for the issuance of CLPs and CDLs. To address this 2-front crisis, we need to act immediately. As Secretary Duffy said, it's an imminent hazard to public safety. I'll take just a brief overview. I'll provide a brief overview of the changes in the rule and direct you to the FMCSA will be providing a more extensive breakdown of the changes in the rule. But generally, it does 4 things. The change in the rule tightens eligibility. An employment authorization document alone will not be sufficient to obtain a non-domiciled CDL. Eligibility will be restricted to individuals who have lawfully entered the U.S. under a narrow set of verified employment-based visas, specifically and only H-2B, H-2A, and E-2. Secondly, the rule mandates verification. As Secretary Duffy had highlighted, there are many instances where states are not even verifying the underlying immigration documents. But they will now be required to use the Federal Save Immigration Database to verify an applicant's lawful status for every single issuance and renewal of a non-domiciled CDL, no exceptions. Thirdly, there'll be a shortened renewal requirement. The license will now expire when the driver's employment-based visa ends or in 1 year, or whichever comes first. This will safeguard against the reckless practice of issuing licenses long after a driver's authority to be in the country has expired. And finally, this rule will require in-person renewal. All renewals must be done in person, which will prevent automatic renewals by mail. Just to give a little bit of perspective on the impact of this rule, it's prospective, not retrospective. So it doesn't affect the non-domiciled CDLs today. And that amount is about 200,000 and 20,000 learner permits, which is about 5% of the overall CDLs that are issued, about 3.5 CDLs for interstate commerce. The impact of this rule under the current rules would effectively remove about 190,000 of the non-domiciled CDLs. So it will be significant. The second part that Secretary Duffy has highlighted is FMCSA's action against California. We'll be issuing today a preliminary determination of substantial noncompliance with the standards of issuing CDLs. All states must comply with the statutory requirements for issuances of CDLs, or they risk their highway funding being withheld, or up to decertification of their actual CDL program. In California, FMCSA concluded an annual program review, which is a regular review of the state driver's licensing licensing programs. This particular program, after the direction of Secretary Duffy, we added the non-domiciled component and really focused on that. It's an extensive review. We reviewed 145 of the over 3,000 non-domiciled CDLs issued in California in June. And it took almost 2 weeks of an on-site investigation. And as Secretary Duffy mentioned, 1 in 4 of our sample size were issued in violation of the federal regulations. So there are over 60,000 non-domiciled CDLs issued in California. And so this potentially impacts about 15,000 drivers. So we'll issue our preliminary determination against California for failing to meet the requirements. And let me just outline some of the requirements that will be in our letter. California must immediately pause issuing non-domiciled commercial learner permits and commercial driver's licenses. And as soon as practicable, they need to identify all of the unexpired non-domiciled CDLs that were issued in compliance with the relevant regulations. They must conduct an internal audit to identify all procedural and programming errors, training and quality assurance problems, and insufficient policies and practices, and all of the other issues that have resulted in widespread noncompliance in the issuance of non-domiciled CDLs. They must notify FMCSA of the audit findings and the number of unexpired compliant non-domiciled CDLs. They need to take immediate action to correct the deficiencies identified in the audit. They need to take immediate action to avoid and rescind all improperly issued CDLs and reissue those non-domiciled CDLs in accordance with the regulations in effect at the time of reissuance. And they must, in resuming issuing the non-domiciled CDLs, only after the state has ensured that all statutes, regulations, and necessary oversight is in place. As Secretary Duffy mentioned, they have 30 days to respond to the non-compliance letter that'll go out today, and to provide their corrective action to make the implementations necessary to bring their program into compliance with the law.
We'll take your questions in just a moment. I want to give one point of clarification. So this is not retroactive, and not because we did not want to make this retroactive. This is prospective. If we can find a pathway forward to make it retroactive, we will, because we're very concerned about the issues that have been issued over the course of the last several years. And so that's issue number one. But issue number two, we all saw during COVID how important our truck drivers are to moving supplies, goods, food throughout our country. And we've had a lot of conversations. This is not about the movement of goods. It's follow the law, number one. But we have a lot of drivers who are U.S. citizens who are ready and willing and able to take these loads. And so this is not going to impact the flow of goods at all. We don't need non-domiciled CDL drivers to carry loads in America to make sure our goods travel throughout the country. We have American drivers who are, again, ready, willing, and able to take those loads. And so, again, we're going to force compliance with the law, but this has no impact on the movement of goods because, again, we have great American drivers who are ready to act.
So look, as you can see in the clip, it's not just California, right? Multiple states have had this issue, but California was the most egregious. They were issuing commercial driver's licenses to people that they weren't supposed to, not to mention registering them to vote, and they're not citizens of the country. That data, that information, and this was the part that made me laugh, right? We had so many people that came out when I reported this over 2 weeks ago that the feds went in and raided the DMV. Oh, the feds never raided this. This guy's full of shit. He doesn't know anything. I think by now, when I report something or say something with the insane track record that I have, people should be like, damn, that happened. Because usually it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, it comes out and, oh yeah, that actually is a thing that actually happened. It doesn't matter if we're talking about products or services, or we're talking about things that are going on in government. Now, coffee maker, by the way. Yeah, I need to have coffee. It's early. I'm trying to get back on West Coast time from East Coast time, and my brain is just fried. But one of the things I found exceptionally interesting was California's response. Newsom basically said, you know, the federal government is massively overreaching here. They can't do this. They don't have the ability to do it. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, they do. Yeah, you signed on to it. They can 100% decertify your state in terms of driver's licenses where they will not be valid outside of your state. That means when you go to Arizona, when you go to Nevada, if you go north and you go to Oregon, your driver's license would not be good. Period. The feds would instantly. Now, could other states buck the system and say, oh, we're going to honor their license to show solidarity with California? Yup. And we could see the DOT decertify that state. And I don't think, because of the amount of money that these states get when it comes to highways and DOT funding, they're going to tell California, sorry, you're on your own with that one, bud. We don't want nothing to do with that. And I think that, unfortunately, is going to continue. I think Newsom has no choice here. I mean, especially if he's trying to run for president in 2028, which all signs point to yes, he's going to have to get into compliance here. He's going to have to be like, sorry, all you guys that aren't supposed to be here in the country and, have commercial driver's licenses and can't read the signs on the road. Yeah, your licenses are suspended. Like, this isn't rocket science. All right. And I've had people say, well, how do you feel about, illegal immigrants? I don't care. That's for law enforcement to decide. That doesn't matter to me. Those people made their choices to come here. They came here for a better life. They're doing whatever they're doing. Some of them work jobs. Some of them are doing whatever. That's not up to me. That's not up to me. I'm an American citizen. I'm straight. I'm good. All right. I will stand on the fact that we should not have people that can't read or speak the language driving an 80,000-pound truck city to city, state to state, and don't even understand basic traffic laws in the United States. That is insane. Period. Period. There's no debate. None. Zero. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with California. If you live in California, I'd be concerned because you could get to a point where your driver's license is no longer valid if California tries to buck the government. And your real ID is no good. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Give the video a big thumbs up if you like what I do. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. What do you think is going to happen with this issue in California? I think it's a big issue. I think they're going to run into a lot of problems if they try to fight this. And that means I don't think they're going to fight it. I think they're going to capitulate and do what they're supposed to do. What a novel idea. Like I said, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Give the video a big thumbs up if you like what I do. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Go check out the second channel, Auto Intel Daily. I will tag it in the description down below. And until next time, thank you very much for watching. I truly appreciate it. And as always, stay petty, my friends.